very passionate about carnitine and D-ribose and supporting our mitochondria. So I thought that would be a great thing for us to talk about tonight. And so let's get started. So we all know just from Biology 101 when we were in high school and college that the mitochondria are the powerhouse of our cells. So they have these little rod-like structures, and these rod-like structures create ATP, which creates energy in our bodies. So there's like, let's see, I think it's like 100 billion mitochondria cells, 10 billion actually, mitochondria cells in the body. You can see the heart cells have over 5,000 mitochondria. The brain cells have 800. Our eggs have anywhere from 1,000 to 100 million mitochondria. What's interesting is sperm has between 50 and 75 mitochondria in each sperm. Our liver cells have 30 to 400 mitochondria. But unfortunately, after the age of 60, we have less than 50% of our mitochondria left in our body. And these mitochondria make up about 10% of our whole body weight. So energy equals life. So adenosine triphosphate stands for ATP. So the more life, the more energy, the longer life, the healthier life, because we need ATP from blinking to breathing to thinking to talking. So they're little ATP factories, and it's necessary for us to function. So these mitochondria, they're like little cellular power plants, and they help with healthy metabolism, with fat burning, detox. They help our bodies heal. They help fight free radicals and cell division, cell maintenance. And they're very important, and they're totally in every cell of our body. So what damages our mitochondria? Well, we have internal and external toxins. So air pollution, so don't be jogging out on the main roads. Contaminated water, we all know about drinking healthy water. Nutritional deficiencies. There are tests like SpectraCell and other testing that you can look to see what nutrient deficiencies you may have. Drugs, over-the-counter drugs, prescription drugs like anticonvulsants can damage the mitochondria. Pesticides, we know, heavy metals, plastics, but what's interesting is blue light and EMF. They can damage the mitochondria in our eyes. So we have to be very, very careful. However, our mitochondria do need light, sunlight to thrive, just not EMF and blue light. So early onset mitochondria dysfunction, people just think they're tired. But really, 50% of the people have this mitochondria dysfunction once they're 40 years or older. They experience some fatigue, decreased energy, and eventually that can lead to chronic disease. And the chronic diseases that you might see would be things like chronic inflammation. You might see things like congestive heart failure and the cardiovascular diseases, neurological disorders. You may run into Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, psychological disorders could be like bipolar. So all these things can be affected by the mitochondria. And the key to reversing disease is we must improve our mitochondrial function. A cell that has more energy is better able to protect itself. So when a cell runs out of energy, it's going to die. So let's talk about mitochondrial wellness. I believe that this is the single thing that we can do for anti-aging, is supporting our mitochondria. It can help with our sports performance, whether you're a warrior or whether you're an advanced athlete or just going to the gym. It can help you with increased energy, longevity, primarily prevention of disease, and weight loss. So food is information. So a balanced diet will tell the body, burn fat, oops, hold on to muscle. All right, let's build some muscle. So when we ingest food into our body, it's like this big giant chemistry experiment that happens, and the food tells the body, oh, do this or do that. And so we want to give our body good quality food. So we all know that there are foods that cause inflammation, and there are foods that help to eliminate inflammation. So we know all the foods that cause inflammation. For some people, it's gluten, bad oils, soda, processed food. But what's interesting, some people may experience some inflammation in their GI system from healthy foods, maybe from nuts, or maybe they're allergic to cherries or pineapples. And there are food sensitivity testing that can be done, and it's looking at the lymphocyte of the cell. The name of the company is called SpectraCell. And if you can get off those foods and let your body heal, let your gut heal, to decrease that inflammation that's happening, even though you think that you're fine. Mine, of all things, was almonds. I was drinking a lot of almond milk every day, and broccoli. I was eating a lot of broccoli. So these things can happen, and we need to take notice of it. Well, everybody loves antioxidants, and our body loves antioxidants, and they're fun to eat, and it's vitamin C, vitamin E, selenium, zinc, NAC, and we need these antioxidants to protect our mitochondria. And then we have our non-essential nutrients, and one of my colleagues said, nope, basically they are essential. And these are carnitine, CoQ10, GLA, chlorine, NAC. And the reason why they're called non-essential is because your body does make a small amount of each one of these nutrients. However, it's really not enough for optimal levels. So a lot of times we need to supplement. And sometimes if you just do these tests like the SpectraCell test, you can see exactly where your levels are. You can test instead of guessing. Now, Robert Crayon taught me this. Cell energizing superstars, that's what he called it. These are not stimulants. It's not like Red Bull and coffee and caffeinated beverages. L-carnitine is naturally stimulating the mitochondria. Acetyl-L-Carnitine can cross the blood-brain barrier. CoQ10, B-complex, magnesium, lipoic acid, your essential fatty acids with the EPA and DHA, and your medium-chain triglycerides. These are all superstars. They help give you energy, but they're not stimulating like coffee or caffeine. Now, there's different forms of carnitine that I want you to be aware of. L-carnitine or levocarnitine, that pushes fat into the mitochondria of the cell to be burned up as energy to create more energy for the body. And so when you eat fats, proteins, carbs, it goes into the body and then it gets pushed into the mitochondria, and that's where everything takes place, is at the mitochondria, and that's where this is happening. D-carnitine actually blocks that action, where it will not allow carnitine to be produced. That's actually banned in Europe, and it's not allowed. Acetyl-L-Carnitine, which I don't see on the slide on my screen, but acetyl-L-Carnitine is able to cross the brain barrier, and it's used in a lot of brain nutrients and to help with brain function. So what exactly is carnitine?
You
well,
tried
it comes
it
from
too,
the Latin
and it
word
made you bark.
meat or carne, carnitine, carnivore. Interestingly, it has a naturally lemony tart flavor. It's a vitamin-like nutrient, but it's not really a true vitamin because our body does make a small amount, about 20 milligrams a day.
He wants me to look at something of hers up here on this table.
Hurry up.
All right, I'm up here.
Amino acids. Carnitine is classified as an amino acid, but it doesn't even have an amino group. Amino acids are the building blocks that form proteins to create your hair follicles, your nails. It helps with your neurotransmitters in your brain and in your gut, and every structure in the body. So amino acids are the building blocks of all of our cells as well. So what carnitine does is it transports these fatty acids into the mitochondria. So it's like a little shuttle. And so this is just a diagram showing how it's being transported into the mitochondria. And then it goes through and the Krebs cycle, and then it creates ATP for energy that we can use. Carnitine is fuel for the mitochondria. It helps with fat burning, it helps increase energy, and it suppresses the appetite. We eat fat and we want to get rid of fat. So how's carnitine made in the body? Well, the body doesn't really like to make carnitine, but it can be made in the liver and the kidney. So there's 2 amino acids, lysine and methionine, that you may even sell in your health food stores. It takes to make 1 gram of carnitine, the body's going to have to use 30 grams of protein. So a lot of muscle mass is lost during this process if the body has to make carnitine. So the body only makes about 1/3 of the carnitine. So that's why supplementation may be necessary in some patients. An interesting fact is that children under the age of 15 do not even make carnitine. They do not have the GBDH enzyme that's necessary to create carnitine. So children who are vegetarians and children that are under the age of 15 really should support with carnitine so they do not lead to a carnitine deficiency. So let's talk about how do you ingest carnitine. Well, carnitine is in the mitochondria of dark meats mainly, so lamb, beef. There is some in chicken, there's a little bit in fish. The vegetarians might be getting a little bit in some rice, and look how little is in like a vegetable like tomato, 0.1 milligram. So they're getting a small amount of carnitine in their vegetarian diet. So my girlfriend Bonnie lives in Alaska, and she took this picture. So this is my slide on fresh caught salmon. She's clear across the Kenai River. And so this is between 4 and 6 ounces of salmon is about 10 milligrams of carnitine. And I love this picture. See the little baby bear on the other side of the mom, hiding, waiting for some fish. I just think that's the cutest picture. So this is Debbie. She is my tennis partner, and she is eating a 22-ounce steak at the Capitol Grill. She ate the whole darn thing, and that's about 140 milligrams per 4 ounces in that steak. This is my brother Perry. He's a 38-pound hogfish. It's my favorite fish on the planet. And there's 10 milligrams of carnitine in that fish, and it's just light, white, fluffy fish. This is Liana. She ate that whole darn lobster. It's about 10 milligrams in 4 to 6 ounces of lobster meat. Plus, you're getting your EPA and DHA, your essential fatty acids. So that's really good too. Turkey. The dark meat of the turkey is rich in carnitine as well. So vegetarians, they get anywhere between 1 and 10 milligrams of carnitine. So if they did the SpectraCell test or had their blood drawn, they would see that they probably have decreased carnitine plasma levels. So most vegetarians know that they should be supplementing with B12, but they may not know about the carnitine. And so we need to educate our vegetarians for optimal health. That would be a good thing to add to their protocol. Now this is Midge. I met her at the nail salon, and she's 100 years old. And actually it was 102. And the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, they found a bunch of centurions, 66 men and women that were 100 or older, and they gave them 2 grams or 2,000 milligrams of L-carnitine in a drink. They all noticed increased energy, increased mental clarity. They gained 8 pounds of muscle. That's hard to do when you're less than 100 years old, let alone at 100. And they all had decreased fat mass. So I thought that was a pretty impressive study. It decreased fatigue. And so it's a very impressive study on these centurions. So the most important muscle in the heart is, the most important muscle, I believe, is the heart. It requires an enormous amount of ATP, and it needs it for the pumping volume and the strength of those contractions. When you have decreased mitochondria, that can lead to things like congestive heart failure, cardiovascular disease, hypertension. I hope that everybody that's on this call knows CPR. I suggested at Soho that the health food stores bring in Recessa Annie so that patients or your customers can come in and practice on Recessa Annie to see how hard they have to actually push on the chest for those chest compressions, because you may end up breaking some ribs. And maybe in the health food stores, we could be selling the masks that people could keep in their car so that they can do mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. So think about that, everybody learning CPR and making sure their staff knows it as well. So diabetes is extremely prevalent in the United States, and diabetes and carnitine. It will help to decrease the high fat levels in the blood. It will help the diabetics to burn sugar more efficiently. Absolutely helps to lower triglycerides, and it helps to increase the good HDL. Exercise and carnitine. When you take carnitine before, during, or after a workout, you become a better fat burner. You have more energy. Some people will drink the carnitine or take the carnitine prior to a workout to help them get through the workout. Some people will take it post-workout because they're wiped out. But carnitine can help decrease the lactic acid so your muscles aren't as sore, can help with exercise recovery, but it will absolutely help with increased muscle mass, tone, and strength. So it's something that you might want to add to your exercise program. Female fertility. There are no human studies. However, they did do studies in bovine and in poultry, and they noticed that if they gave these animals carnitine in their feed, they had a decrease in natural abortion. So some practitioners, some physicians may recommend for their female patients to start taking carnitine even prior to getting pregnant. Male fertility. Sperm has the highest level of acetyl-L-Carnitine. Remember, that's the one that can cross the blood-brain barrier. And a lot of doctors may recommend that the patients start taking acetyl-L-Carnitine 90 days prior to trying to conceive. The sperm need a lot of endurance and energy to get to where they're going. This will also help increase sperm count and the motility. Pregnancy. So high-risk pregnancies, such as mommies that are going to have twins, some obese moms, especially vegetarian moms, if they're not taking carnitine, they can end up with a secondary carnitine deficient, which can lead them to have increased fatty acids in the blood. It could cause an increased risk of gestational diabetes. Babies need carnitine for healthy development of their lungs. It causes increased surfactant in the lungs. So when they're born, their lungs are nice and healthy. It's safe in the body because the body's already making, it's safe to take during pregnancy because the body's already making 20 to 25 grams of carnitine, plus we eat carnitine. So the dose during pregnancy would be approximately 2 grams per day. There was a study done in the British Journal of Cancer, and they measured carnitine levels in 50 patients. They gave them a pineapple-y flavored drink containing carnitine, and they measured their blood levels a week after drinking this drink every single day. And 40 out of 50 patients reported increased energy. 50% increased their blood levels. So I feel like that's significant just from taking one little drink per day. So here's some suggested dosing. Is carnitine comes in a powder, which is just easy. You can just dump it in to your water bottle. Has a nice lemony flavor. Comes in capsules, usually about 250 to 500 milligrams, or comes in a liquid. Maintenance dose that everybody could take is 1 gram per day. If you're doing exercise or you're on a weight loss program, you may want to increase that to 1 gram 3 times a day. Are there any side effects to L-carnitine? Well, some people may experience diarrhea because you are pushing fat into the mitochondria of the cells. So some people may end up with a diarrhea flush. So what you would do is just back off on the dose that you're taking. There is a genetic SNP that some patients may have. It's very rare, but it may happen. They come into your health food store and they tell you, oh my gosh, if I take carnitine, I have a fishy odor when I sweat. It's excreted in their sweat glands, and it is a true phenomenon that happens in very rare cases, but if you have someone that comes back and say, oh my gosh, I can't take that, they could back off on the dose and see if that helped. So you can test, don't guess, SpectraCell Laboratories. They can take a look at all your micronutrients. This is just, it's not a very good slide, but this kind of shows you, you can see where your level is. If you're in the red zone, the little red dot tells you where you are. You want to be up in the green zone so you can kind of see where you are. So carnitine is one of the analytes that they will test. So let's talk about acetyl-L-Carnitine. It's part of our brain chemistry. It helps to energize our brain. However, it's not a stimulant, but you can take it to help with memory, for mental focus, and learning. And remember, we said men should be taking it prior to trying to conceive. So acetyl-L-Carnitine deficiencies are associated with aging, mental fatigue, depression, decreased attention span. So acetyl-L-Carnitine is able to cross the blood-brain barrier, and it allows the brain cells to communicate more efficiently with each other. And so it has been shown to relieve depression. They've used acetyl-L-Carnitine for stroke recovery, 160 patient study. They gave them 1.5 grams or 1,500 milligrams a day for 8 weeks, and they noticed that there was increased speed of recovery, increased mood, and increased attention span. How simple is that? Just taking a few supplements a day. Other areas of research, they've done 600 plus Alzheimer's studies. They showed that it has a slower rate of decline, diabetic neuropathy, especially if the patients take alpha-lipoic acid and GLA. Patients that have suffered from brain injuries, giving them acetyl-L-Carnitine, immune support for the central nervous system, and it does help protect the brain from stress. Acetyl-L-Carnitine is found in food. This is my sister-in-law. She's from Colombia, and that's her mom and dad. And acetyl-L-Carnitine is only found in fish, chicken, and cow brains. So they fight over the fish brain when they're at a restaurant. They say it tastes delicious. I did not try it. Acetyl-L-Carnitine has no known side effects. However, it's suggested not to take late in the day, not that it's a stimulant, but it does energize your brain, so it could possibly interfere with you falling asleep. And here's some ideas for suggested dosing of acetyl-L-Carnitine. Mental energy, 700 to 2,000 milligrams. Relieving depression, same. Immune support. Brain injuries, they up it a little bit to 1,400 to 3,000 milligrams. Same with stroke and Alzheimer's support. They up the dose a little bit. Let's talk about D-Ribose. D-Ribose is part of our DNA. It's a sugar molecule. It's found in the body, and it is required for ATP cell production in every cell in our body. Small amounts of D-Ribose can be found in food, beef, poultry, eggs, cheese, milk. So we can ingest a little bit, but again, it's just not enough. So what D-Ribose production in the body, it breaks down glucose in the mitochondria. So the adrenal glands, the liver, fat cells, they're the largest producers of D-Ribose. The heart, the brain, the nerve tissues, and muscles produce just enough D-Ribose to meet their daily needs. They're not making excess for the rest of the body. So if you're exercising, then you could be depleting the D-Ribose. So D-Ribose benefits cardiovascular health, to support the heart, increased energy, especially if you're exercising, increased muscle strength, will help with fibromyalgia in a lot of patients, and there's some weight loss support as well with D-Ribose. D-Ribose can reduce adrenal fatigue. So stress in our body releases cortisol. Cortisol requires an enormous amount of ATP for extra energy. Ribose is used to produce more ATP. So now the body can produce cortisol to handle the stress that so many of us are feeling. Athletes. Research, there's a lot of research on D-Ribose and athletic performance and recovery. And D-Ribose may enhance exercise performance with low fitness levels or with disease. So someone who's not used to exercising very much, or maybe they have some kind of chronic disease or inflammation, this may help them get through their workout. D-Ribose can also help recover the ATP stores because they're being depleted post-workout. So some athletes will use this post-workout, and some people that need help getting through their workout can drink it because it's just a nice sweet flavor during the workout. So with the weekend warriors, it will help decrease lactic acid, which will help decrease muscle soreness and give them extra energy as they're playing their sport of choice. Okay, there are a few little side effects from D-Ribose. They're very mild. They're usually dose dependent. So if a patient or a client or a customer was experiencing diarrhea, nausea, stomach discomfort, or low blood sugar, because that can lead to hypoglycemia, then they need to back way down on their dose. It's always better to start slow and move your way up. So here are some recommended daily doses. Energy enhancement, 2 to 5 grams. For maximum athletic performance, some larger doses, 1 to 2 grams per hour of exercise. It's suggested not to exceed more than 20 grams per day. It's a very light, white, fluffy powder, and it's sweet, very soluble in applesauce, water, yogurt. It tastes really, really great. So I love this slide. Harold was impressed with his improved cell performance. So does anybody have any questions? See if I can figure out how to unmute everybody. Oops.
I'm trying to unmute everybody.
Thank you, Linda, for helping. Do you know how to do this? Oh, she's hello.
Yes, there's no questions.
Okay.
Oh, there's Millie is unmuted.
Okay. She's unmuted. Hello. Hello. Well, thanks everybody for joining us this evening. This is our first time giving it a try, and we appreciate your time. Linda, do you have anything to add?
You know, when you said it's a slightly sweet taste, actually, it's so nice. I don't really have oops, sorry, walked away. I had too many phones on. It's a great product. It just is a nice, gentle, lemony taste. It's not too sweet, which I don't like too sweet, so I think it's perfect.
Great. So that's what she's talking about.
You just put, just tear off the tab and you pour it in a bottle of water and then shake it twice and you're good to go.
Good. So that's fat2energy.com. Lemonade. If you have any questions, you can call me at